Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think the best way is just kind of like keep this up so that we can skip through parts, try and regain the thoughts that we had in the moment, etc., etc.
Yeah,
I
like
can't actually tell if you're in it. Yeah, you are. Okay.
I do
I love the
generally.
production value that went into this, by the way. That is just outright a work of passion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I think it's like poorly done or poorly directed or anything. I do think it kind of lingers in a way that's just awkward, but that could be intentional.
I mean,
I
considering
think
it cuts
some of
off,
it was
I think so, yeah.
awkward.
Like it's meant to be awkward, you know. It cuts off. You get to see all this. This is very
Yeah.
intrusive. The dirty
Yeah,
room.
yeah, but what I mean is like I do think a decent amount of it is intended to be awkward. I don't think all of the awkwardness is intentional, but like
What's an
I can
example of awkwardness
appreciate
that you don't think is intentional? Because I think all of it is kind of
unironically
meant to be intentional.
uh I'm not gonna go with like the whole actor thing because I think that bringing that up as for like direction awkwardness is a little silly. But I do genuinely think like the scene after the like shaving of the legs just kind of felt like it was just holding longer than it necessarily needed
You
to.
talking about specifically this area with the classroom, or before the classroom?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much the classroom and kind of the shaving part. I understand the whole point of that one is supposed to be awkward,
Yeah.
but it kind of went from like this is awkward
It
to
almost feels
sort
voyeuristic.
of just yeah, it just
Like I don't
starts
want to look
feeling
at this
like it.
part of somebody's life.
Yeah, no, like I understand showing that, and I think even holding on to it for an uncomfortable amount of time is also fine.
It is
This whole
very
thing's supposed to be
discomforting. It
kind
makes
of
me feel like I
uncomfortable.
should not be there.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know.
showing you like what you're not supposed to see. My issue is it just like lingers so long. It goes from like kind of uncomfortable to me just kind of like waiting for them to get done because it's fairly heavy-handed.
I think
It didn't
that is one of the
need
bigger
to
issues
last
with
as
this
long as it did.
overall. Is it's very heavy-handed.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the heavy-handedness as much were it not for the fact that it does genuinely kind of feel like it doesn't realize it's heavy-handed, and we need time to absorb the message that's pretty instantly readable like
Yeah.
frame
Although
one.
to be fair, that is an issue with a lot of new creators and like amateurs when
Yeah.
they kind of just they're very heavy-handed. Sometimes you'll see like something that's supposed to be super heartfelt and you'll watch it and you're like, this is almost parody levels of heavy-handedness. It just kind of happens with newer creators. They
Al-
don't quite know how to
Also,
nail the subtlety angle yet.
I won't lie, this was like the single most predictable thing ever.
I mean, yeah.
Like the entire thing I called as soon as it cut away from the anime OP. I was like, okay, it's this story.
Yeah. As soon as I
Because
saw
I've
like
seen
the
this
dirty dishes
story.
and whatnot, there were two ways it could have gone. Either this person cleans up like their act and finds a bit more motivation to live life, or they just continue living escapism. And as it went on, I realized, oh, okay, it's just gonna be like escapism the entire time, but not very comfortable escapism. Because even the
It
things
kind
that
of
they
ends.
want to do in those hobbies, they don't end up doing.
It does end on a somewhat more solid note, I think, because you can tell they got comfortable afterwards with indulging in their hobby in a way that isn't trying to become their hobby. At least that's how it feels to
Or
me.
maybe they got beaten back into another corner of shame. Like now
Maybe,
they're
but
too ashamed to even try to like cosplay the character that they liked.
maybe, but I do think there's like a discomfort there that wasn't just, oh, I'm not literally her IRL, I'm gonna kill myself. I think part of it was just like, nah, this isn't right.
I
You know,
think
very Shinji-esque, like, damn, this LCL shit kinda lame. This is
I think
off.
this part is great because of the whole like as I said earlier before I started recording, the whole not comfortable in their skin and also not comfortable in the skin of this character either.
Yeah.
And the scrambling to turn off the, I don't even know how that shit turned on anyway, but the scrambling to turn it off because they didn't want to be discovered, undressing, dressing up in the dark, etc., etc., throwing it away at the end because of like either shame or just this isn't for me, dog. I think
Yeah.
it's a combination of both, but then they also try going to the party, but they just turn back because they realize either one, their social anxiety is too high for them to consider going in and their fear of rejection and whatnot is spiking, or that's not for them either. But judging by
Yeah.
like how
I
gloomy this scene is shot, it's
it's
kind of like
weird.
taking comfort in drugs that aren't going to help you. Taking comfort in painkillers, I guess. Yeah, medicine that isn't going to help you, but medicine that kind of like temporarily eases your woes.
I think for me, this is a very rare case of I reading being the one to read it slightly more hopeful. While this can be generally looked at as shot fairly gloomy, and honestly, knowing the internet, it's probably supposed to be. Nobody on the internet has like a shred of fucking optimism in them, especially not creatives. This is probably supposed to be super fucking doomer. But for me, this just looks very comfortable. Like, they don't look upset here, they look pretty fucking okay just partaking in their hobby. It's mostly that expression at the end
They are
where
kind of
like
smiling, yeah.
that doesn't look like escapism, that looks like comfort. They tried their thing, it didn't feel right, and now they feel a little more comfortable. And here
It could
even
just be at the
that,
end of the day, they're just like super introverted and this is the life they choose. It's gloomy in terms of like anybody looking at them is going to find this gloomy. Anybody looking at this type of thing is going to find this
yeah,
sad.
this unironically just feels like introvert realizes that they are actually pretty fucking happy with their hobby, and they realize they're pretty okay just staying as they are.
But
Because
at the same
honestly,
time,
I'm
it's
gonna keep
also
it.
like
It's very dreary.
difficult to let that kind of thing slide. Like I understand some
It's
people should just be left alone and whatnot, but you can tell with their friends, at least this friend in particular, this friend's trying really hard to drag them out of their shell. This friend's trying to drag them out of like a life where
she,
they just end up doing this for the rest of their days.
yeah.
For
She is
everybody that is
trying.
not the main character, this is an unsatisfying existence. But for the main character, this is a
Yeah.
satisfying existence, and that's really hard to deal with.
Another thing is also unironically the party to me, like you can take as like, ah, I don't fit in. But unironically, the way I see it is pretty much a just, nah, this ain't for me, dog, kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
probably not the intention. Probably supposed to be gloomy and glum and shit like that, because it's a fucking creative on the internet.
Yeah.
They kind of all are like
A
that.
critique of
If
otaku
I'm
culture, some people might say.
like, quite frankly, I've seen this story before. I know the people who write this story.
Bro,
It's
I'm
probably
gonna say something.
intended to be gloomy as shit,
I'm
and
gonna say something. I'm gonna say something.
I don't really read the
Fucking
same way. A little bit.
this is literally
That
just
one's
the same thing but more stylized.
and also even more doomer.
Yeah, way more fucking humor. Oh, is this
In
not even the same song? Oh god, this is some fucking TikTok. Whoops.
yeah,
Do they not have? Oh yeah, that's right.
it's
They scrapped it off of YouTube. You have to look at it on Vimeo now.
oh that's fun.
Completely unironically, this no longer exists on YouTube. Does Girl by
But yeah,
Dalco
like,
work? Is it still here? Yeah, Dalco
but
Girl is
yeah.
still here. I didn't realize it was 7 fucking minutes. Holy shit.
So the way like I see it is hit me. Boiling it down. Internet introvert weeb queer writing this specific story to me tells me it's probably supposed to be very doomer.
I mean, yeah.
Because I know the general type of person this is. I've talked to a lot of them, and they mostly fall into like pretty much all the same habits. And I've also like seen basically the exact same story before.
Yeah.
It's intended to be more doomer than I personally take it, simply because looking at that person's life, I can see a lot of satisfaction there that's probably not supposed to be there.
For
But like
the more shut in, withdrawn, that would be like a very satisfying existence. But if you take it from the angle of like
like
most
extroverts.
extroverts and even some hikis that feel frustrated with the life they're leading, the cycle that they're
themselves.
in.
I
Like,
think another thing
Rudy would not
is
be happy with that existence, just outright.
I think another thing to keep in mind too is I feel like the film's probably going with the angle of this being a perpetual cycle, but me personally, I view most like points of life as everything is a phase actually. Like yeah, it is a phase, mom, because like everything is a phase. They'll they'll find something
Yeah.
eventually,
All right. Well,
realistically, especially since they've shown they want to try.
yeah.
No.
Let's wrap this up. Let's conclude this. One last statement from both, I suppose.
All right, you go first, I guess.
No, you go first.
Okay, my general overarching feelings is I do get it, but I didn't get much out of it.
I think. Oh,
And
Go
in
ahead. Go ahead.
terms of filmography, I think large portions of it are quite solid, and I think several portions of it are pretty rough.
I think there is one good scene, like well shot scene specifically, in the entire short film, and that is the scene of like obviously the dressing up, undressing, etc., etc. That is
Hmm.
shot pretty well, especially the shot of like hunched over, the back is like tensing. You know, there's a decent amount of
Hmm.
physical acting going on. It could be revulsion, it could be fear of being caught, etc., etc., anxiety. That is my favorite scene of the whole thing. In terms of it being 7 minutes long, I don't know if it needed to be that long because a lot of this stuff just kind of lingers a little bit longer than it should. And
Yeah,
then, in terms of what it's portraying, it's both kind of like a celebration of this type of lifestyle, but also like a critique of the lifestyle. You know, the person's happy with it at the end, but also, should they be happy?
yeah.
I do very much
I think
like the
it's
production value that went into the merch and the opening, though.
I think it's fine to be happy like that, especially since again they'll probably find a group they fuck with eventually.
Yeah.
I'm not
It is
surprised.
entirely
This
possible.
person who's like a mega weeb and whatnot is really not comfortable with the general like party goer folk.
Genuinely
Like
surprised,
I'm
by
gonna
the way,
keep it
that the
real.
blue haired
I'm
chick
not.
was not a mega weeb. I kind of assumed she was because, well,
That is the norm.
that's what she looked like. She just kind of looked
Yeah.
like a mega weeb. So it's like, oh, okay, watch something together. Oh, okay, their friend is inviting them to watch anime together. It could also be that
Also,
their friend is actually inviting them to watch anime together, but that person's into a very specific type of anime and they only really want to watch that type of anime.
admittedly, I do not super fuck with the friend, and I don't think the protag does either.
Yeah, I think the friend was very extroverted, but in a slightly derisive sort of way. This type of relationship works if,
She's a little toxic.
I mean, yeah, this type of relationship works if like there's a strong rapport between the two characters, but we don't really get to see that rapport either, so she just comes off as kind of annoying, kind of a bitch. Anyways, I think
It's very
if you want to find the exact same type of story being told in a more artful way and honestly a more effective and more gloomy way, watch Me Me Me. This is a really good video.